Welcome to Postcast, the Utah Jazz Show, dominating performance once again for their 11th straight win. They do it over the Dallas Mavericks. They led by 30. That's the fifth time in 18 games they led by 30. They led for over 40 minutes. They actually led for 46 minutes of this game. That is the 11th time in 18 games they've led by over 40 or more minutes. They are just dominating right now. The best team in the NBA right now is the Utah Jazz, and there's no question about it. That's coming up on Postcast. I'm David Locke. This is Postcast Live after every Jazz game on Locked On Live on Twitch, as well as Facebook, as well as on YouTube, and Locked on DLock09 on Twitter. New Twitter handle, DLock09 on Twitter. Get your comments and your thoughts going. I'll give you my opening comments to this one. So this was a fascinating game to me because of the fact that you're playing that back-to-back, and you want to see what Dallas can do coming out the second time, and the Jazz for the second straight game are without Donovan Mitchell, and they're without Derek Favors, and you're wondering what the Dallas Mavericks are going to be able to do and what they're going to change up. We never found out. The Jazz were so dominating right out of the chute, we never found out, and it was just absurd. Stupid, actually. They led 37-12 at the end of one. Their defensive rating in the first quarter was a 48. Through three quarters, the Jazz are the best team in the NBA by a large margin. It's true again tonight. They led 94-68 after three. They're playing fourth quarters that are just irrelevant. It's destroying their statistical numbers, but it's just irrelevant fourth quarters right now. And here's the craziest thing. Bojan clicked in tonight. The Jazz have been doing this the whole time without Bojan Bogdanovic playing well, shooting well. He clicks in tonight, goes 10 of 16, 7 of 11 from 3, has 32 points. The Jazz take 48 of their 87 shots as threes. They are taking over 50% of their shots as threes. In game one of this two-game matchup, the Mavericks decided that they weren't going to let the Jazz shoot threes. And so the Jazz end up taking 41 of 91 shots as threes, under 50% of their shots. They still get 41 up, but they take and Dallas changes their defense tonight. So now the Jazz get up 50+% of their shots as threes. And when you're an elite level shooting team and you can shoot this many threes, I don't know if you can be beat. The math is just directly against. There's going to be a bad shooting night here somewhere. But the Jazz are not having outlandish shooting nights. They shot 39% the other night. They shot 42 tonight. That's what they do. They're a 39 to 40% three-point shooting team. Somewhere along the line, they're going to have a bad shooting night, which is 33% from three, which is probably still good enough to win. You just don't win by 20. You just win by 10 or 5. It's absolutely remarkable to watch this team play right now. Juwan Morgan deserves a huge shout-out. He was great. His activity, he hit some threes, he spaced the floor. He brings the Jazz something. In 21 minutes tonight, he had 12 points, 7 rebounds. That's an important game for the Jazz as Favors tries to figure out how to get healthy and get some bounce back to him because Juwan Morgan showed that he could play. Now, that's a soft team they played, but he showed he could play. That's important. There's just so many things tonight to give credit for. But the big stories are Bogdanovic clicking in. Gobert has 17 and 12. Dallas, the contrast of the two nights. One night, Rudy has 29. They try to limit the threes. The Jazz still get 41 threes. You don't limit the threes. The Jazz take 48 and they make 20. And speaking of making 23s, the Jazz have now made 23s in more games this year than they had in their franchise history before the season started. That's incredible. They had 20 against the Warriors, 21 against the Pelicans, 20 against the Hawks, 24 against the Cavaliers, 25 against the Bucks, 21 against the Spurs. You don't try to take, you worry about Rudy rolling the rim. We're going to get 45 to 53s up. We make 50% of those. It's going to be really hard for you to catch them. You go protect the threes, Rudy and the guards are going to kill you. One night, New Orleans decided they weren't leaving the three-point shooters, so Clarkson had 24, Conley had 20, and Donovan had 30. Dallas decided they're guarding the threes, and they weren't going to let the guards beat them, so Rudy had 29. Pick your poison, and the defense is great right now. It's just incredible. It is as dominating a stretch of basketball as we've ever seen in the history of the Utah Jazz. I'm going to guess, I've asked for this, I've requested in a look to Elias. I'd like to know the margin of victory, the largest margin of victory of an 11-game win streak in NBA history. I'm guessing the Heatles with LeBron, Bosh, and one of their massive win streaks probably had an 11-game stretch that was better. But the Jazz have won 10 of the 11 games by double digits. They've led by 20 in 8 of the 11 games. They've led by 17 in 10 of the 11 games. They've led by 30 in 5 different games already this season. It's ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. Let's get your thoughts. Those are my opening comments. Yee! I don't know what yee means, Raymond, but I'm right there with you. And Manny says, my goodness, wow, I agree. It's actually, I'd be actually interested to talk to Bowler about this. It's hard to call. I'm not lying. It's hard to call right now. How do you describe Jordan Clarkson once again doing something that looks like it's completely impossible for the 4th time in like the last 4 minutes? Andrew says, we are rolling. How do we keep this up? Hopefully we can keep the momentum. I don't know that we can keep this entirely up. But you don't actually have to keep this up. You're winning by so much that this can come down a little and you're still winning at a great margin. We're not going to not lose again. We keep this up, we don't lose another game all year. Right? So we're not going to keep this up. It's got to come down a little. But I mean, there are some data points here that are kind of crazy. There's only 5 teams in the history of the game that have ever taken 40% of their shots as threes. We're going to be the 6th. No one's ever done it as this good a shooting team. Those other teams' offenses were first, second, and 7th. The only team that did it with a good defense was the 65-win Houston Rocket team. Sarah Robbins says, love it. What a game. Utah Life says, Utah is out of control right now. Joshua says, let's go Jazz, NBA best record. Jazz fans against racism says, Jazz are getting it done. Love it. Andy, who's always got questions and thoughts, says, Who said blowouts aren't fun? Most funs I've had in a while. Paul, who's always commenting, says, it would be a bummer when this ends, but we need to enjoy it while it lasts. Paul is a sort of a pessimist there. There's a lot, Paul. I'm going to psychoanalyze you for a second because there's no comments about this game because Xavier says it well. He says speechless. Everyone's just nuts. So, Paul, I'm going to take you to Dr. Phil. The fact you opened that with a negative comment means that you're naturally a pessimist, but this is so awesome you have to be somewhat optimistic. I love you, Paul. Xavier says speechless. Alan says, great to see Morgan take advantage of the opportunity. He was really good. That matters. Those were important minutes. Brayton says, do you think we can sustain the momentum against the Nuggets? The Nuggets are the team we did not blow out. But here's a crazy thought for you. Here's the Western Conference standings. Clippers are half game behind us. We were up 20 on them. Spurs are in 4th. We're up 30 on them. Denver's in 5th. We beat them. Phoenix is in 7th. They beat us. Portland's in 8th. We're up 30 on them. Golden State's in 9th. We're up 40 on them. Dallas is in 11th. We're up 25 one game and 30 the other on them. In the East, the Nets beat us. Brooklyn, Philadelphia haven't played. And the Bucks, we're up 30 on them. The Hawks are in 6th. We're up 30 on them. Cleveland's in 7th. We're up 30 on them. I mean, this is stupid. Anthony, what is the most important takeaway from the streak? Double-digit wins, this amount of threes? Both. All of it. Defense is great, too. First 3 quarters were the number 1 team in the NBA, and their 4th quarters were just blowing people out. Doesn't matter. I have no idea if we get Donovan back against Denver. Daniel, I love that you asked, but I'm not a doctor. I haven't seen Donovan. I tweeted at him during the game tonight because we're up 30, and as a play-by-play announcer, I just started tweeting people. Who cares? Conley and the defense was incredible. The whole team was incredible. We were up 37-12 on an NBA team. You know, the last time I saw 37-12 was when Bethany played Las Lomitas in 5th grade. Maybe it was in 8th grade, but Bethany kicked the crap out of us. We were just got our ass kicked up and down the court all night long. It was 37-12. It looked like an 8th grade basketball game where one team's good and the other team's not. Have a good night. See you.